Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thank you for joining us. If you're thinking about supporting the podcast, we got links down below. Whenever we put links to the books, that's an affiliate links to Amazon. So it doesn't cost you anything, but if you make purchases, it helps support the podcast as well. Just little ways to support the podcast. Errol, we were in the Middle East. We were in the desert.
Yeah, we spent 2 weeks because there was a lot of books and really a lot to cover. And then, as you said, we covered deserts for our biome for this week. So this was one that we had planned to do, and it was a little bit challenging because we know that there's so much conflict right now in the Middle East, and we really struggled with how much we were going to share with our children, especially our 5-year-old. We have kind of two issues. We have a young one, 5, and then our 3rd grader is very, very sensitive and she's really emotional. And so we wanted to be very careful with how we dealt with that. Luckily, there was a few great books this week, and one of them is all about a child living in conflict. And so...
Actually, let's start right there.
Yeah, we can start with that. This is...
Sammy and the Time of the Troubles.
This is during the Lebanese War. And so this gave a perspective of a child's kind of day-to-day as there's bombings and things happening. So it gave us a great opening to tell them that there is still conflict in some of the areas that we're studying. And we didn't get into all the specifics of all of the geopolitical and everything. And we didn't show any footage because we just knew it would be too much for either one of our kids to really handle. But this gave a great child's perspective of what it is like to live in a war-torn area. And so it gave us a way to kind of talk with them a little bit about the fact that, not everywhere is like here and is as peaceful as, it is here. So it was interesting. And they had a few questions about that, but I think it was a bit sobering. So for the beginning of our study was a little sobering as we started with this and just introducing them to the region. And then we kind of went more for, culture and showing the joyful sides of some of these wonderful areas of the world. So just a little preamble if, you're struggling with how to talk with your child about it. Even if you don't want to study the Middle East right now, but you just want an opening to talk about conflict, you might think about using Sammy and the Time of the Troubles as a good kind of opening to that.
So we went on to Lou Jane, I think that's how you say it, Lou Jane and Dreams of Sunflowers. So this is a story of a young little girl who wants to go visit her father, who goes to work in some distance away. And he tells her the story about these sunflowers, and that she dreams that she can put on wings as well and fly with her father to that area. Unfortunately, girls of her age are not allowed to, but she's able to overcome that. So it's just kind of like a overcoming struggles, women not being allowed to do what boys can do, girls can do what boys can do. And so it's those really nice little themes that we like to always try to, especially with our 2 girls, these are themes that we always look for in books to show them, you can persevere and you can do anything you want.
And I would pull the world is not a rectangle, because this kind of goes with, and this one too, pull Osnet first, actually. So there's a theme here, right? Yeah. Of there being a difference between men and women in these cultures. So as this is, Osnet
and her dove.
And her dove, the first female rabbi.
Yeah, set in Iraq. So if you're looking for it, I think in Mosul, if I'm right.
Yeah, so this is kind of a theme of a couple books where we got to talk about some cultural differences where, girls didn't always go to school and, couldn't hold different positions and things. So it was good to show, this part of culture and how things are changing in some of the countries, especially. So, yeah, this was a really good...
This is a great book.
This is a good book,
and
I really like this one.
The world is not a rectangle, basically a portrait of the architect Zaha Hadid.
She's an Iraqi architect, and this is all about all the amazing things that she's done. So it's cool. It's cool to talk about, okay, this is a different area, and women don't have the same rights as we have here. But look, here's still some extraordinary women becoming the first rabbi, becoming this world-famous architect and doing these gorgeous buildings, and all the things that women are still accomplishing. So I think it was good. There was some heady things. In the next one, another woman.
Basra, this true story from Iraq.
This is about a librarian who was saving books from being burned. Again, more about a time of conflict. So there was a lot for our kids to absorb this week. This is a great story too.
I think it's more of I would say this is more kindergarten level, but it is a little bit more heavy in the topics, because the writing is very simple, the story is very short, but it does have kind of conflict as the center of that. So
Yeah.
there's that one as well.
But there was a couple of fun ones that we read.
The Day of Ahmed's Secret.
So this is the same author that did Sammy in the Time of the Troubles, but this is very different, and it's a little boy who's going through the market. This is actually set in Cairo, but we felt like, you know, it was kind of close enough that it was a lighthearted take as he goes through the market and all the people he talks to, and the secret is that he's learned how to write his name. And so it was a really sweet story, and we thought we wanted to pull that in to kind of juxtapose some of the heavier topics.
The artwork here, where it's kind of almost like rotoscope, where they've drawn over
really neat.
Almost like watercolored over like real images. It really brings a kind of realism to the art and the book. I really like these styles. The artist and the author here, nice little partnership there.
Yeah. The Day of Ahmed's Secret's really sweet. It's a very sweet story.
I want to get the names right. Yafa and Fatima, Shalom and Salam.
Yeah, so this is great. So this is talking about two women who are friends. One is Jewish and one is Muslim, and how they pick dates together and they care for one another. And then when there's I believe a drought and there's not as many dates to pick, each one is thinking about the other, goes out and harvests extra dates and leaves them for the other person. And when they see dates on their doorstep, think, oh, I can give these more to my friend. And then they keep giving to each other, and they realize that they were both supporting each other. And throughout it, there's different times where they wish each other peace or happiness in their own culture, in their own religion, and how they pray differently and things. So this is a really good kind of coming together of two different worlds. You'll also see that if you read, I think, Snow in Jerusalem, which we read last time as the Build Your Library pick, which is a great book. They just didn't have it at our library this time when we went to check it out.
The Snow in Jerusalem is a great story.
It's a great book.
It's nice to end on kind of a hopeful tone, especially after some more heavy books. Now we did go into, let's
talk about this.
Another alternative if you're looking for kind of like celebrations around the world. What's the book
so
we currently
use? It's What Do You Celebrate?
What Do You Celebrate?
That's the book that is used for Torchlight, and it's a great book. But this one, Come and Join Us, is also about celebrations around the world. One of the things that I like about this book is it actually is going to cover some different holidays that they don't cover in the other book. So if you want some more comprehensive holidays, there were some in here I hadn't even heard of before, so I think that's really great. And it's got really nice pictures and things.
Yeah, really nice.
So I think this is a newer book. I don't think this was around the last time that we did this Around the World Journey.
Great way to kind of balance the two. So I definitely, those type of books I wouldn't maybe purchase, maybe just check them out, keep them for the weeks you need them, return them, get them then, the following weeks, maybe make some notes on what celebrations and countries it's covered, and then this
one had quite a few countries in the Middle East were covered through this book.
It's a good one, I think. Yeah, I think it's a really good one.
It was really good. So, and if you can't find What Do We Celebrate, you could do this alternatively. It's a great book.
Deserts.
Yeah.
Eyewitness.
Yeah, we talked about deserts.
Broken record.
Yeah, it's a great book. It was good to talk about deserts. We used this as part of our deep dive into the deserts of the Middle East and talking a lot about Dubai and around that area. So that was kind of our springboard book.
That's what we were trying to figure out, because there's not too many movies that we could watch with them, and we were trying to understand what to do.
Yeah.
I've always had an interest in Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. We had some friends go on a trip there, and they loved it, and so we were like, oh, this could be fun to look at.
Yeah, so we ended up getting into a deep dive on the city. Really interesting, possibly potential travel.
Yeah, our oldest was like, okay, so she was able to do a travel thing about what our trip itinerary would be if we went to Dubai.
And what was cool is we followed these bloggers. I'm not really hot on like vloggers who are the main character in the traveling. Like I just like seeing things, and like Rick Steves is a good example of that working. But like you get these kind of like young vloggers, and we're getting old and crotchety, and we're like, I don't want to see young, beautiful people having fun.
Well, they talk so much, but they don't actually show the stuff around.
But this couple,
saith the talking heads.
Yeah, the two talking heads here. Very rich for us to complain about that. But it was this young Australian couple, and obviously very beautiful people. But it was such a great video. It was like 25 minutes, and they went around Dubai. They spent like 3 days there and did all these fun things, and that got us into like looking at the buildings, and then we watched the Mission Impossible behind the scenes with Tom Cruise on the edge of the building.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
And that was we just kept researching and watching more videos on Dubai, and it just
lots of engineering videos, because some of the engineering marvels there is just like wild.
We know building islands in the getting sand shipped in may not be great for the environment, but man, was it fun to watch.
The engineering feat was pretty cool.
The engineers, we turned off the complaint meter when we were turned up the engineering meter and we were like, yeah, that is really cool.
I mean, it's an island shaped as a palm tree.
It's
That's very interesting.
It's a building that's a half a mile tall. It's like, come on, that's awesome.
Really cool. And then we watched the tennis match that was played on the helipad.
I think it was Sanford and Agassi on top of the one that looks like a sail.
Is that the Burj?
Burj Khalifa is the tall one, and then the Burj Dubai.
I don't know, the one that looks like a sail. The sail.
They were playing on the helipad. That was really
It was
cool.
really cool. Anyway, we got into this whole thing. We watched about skiing indoors and just lots of different fun things. But one of the
we
things...
looked up the Airbnb prices that happened to be a month long.
But one of the things that was really
For a
interesting...
trip in the winter, not in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that ended up being really interesting, though, was they're very into camel racing there. And so
We buried the lead, Ariel.
I happened to get...
We don't ever recommend games on this podcast.
Ignore him. But, so I ended up getting a great deal on this. This is called Camel Up.
Ariel, just say it. You should buy this game.
You should buy this game.
This gets the homeschool together.
Yeah, stamp of approval.
Stamp of approval.
So someday we'll have the budget for like effect. I got this game because I got it on sale and I had heard good things and I was like, oh, we're going to study the Middle East coming up soon. I'll hold on to it until it's ready. I want to say that since we probably played it 10 times. We've played it with my parents, with your parents, with our friends, with our kids. Both our kids can play independently.
Every time we play it like 2 or 3 times.
So you have to take out the board to show them the pop-up.
All right.
So it's a betting game, but
And normally you don't like betting games.
I don't like betting games because usually I don't want to like risk it all. This game though doesn't have a risk it all element. It has a pop-up palm tree, you guys.
It's not functional, but it's perfect.
Okay, so it doesn't have a risk it all element.
And there's your camel track.
It also has a pyramid dice tower, you guys. So you put the dice in, you have the little pyramid top, press the button, and the dice roll. I'm just saying it poops dice.
And
It's pretty cool.
You have a pooping pyramid. I mean, what better to do? Anyway, little camel meeples, that's stack.
Right.
That's part of the game where the camels are running.
As the camels ride around and they go over, they end up stacking on each other.
They could stack on top of each
And there's
other.
a couple of crazy camels that are going the wrong direction, and so they'll end up coming. So the game is played in legs, and each leg you're making bets to see which camel you think will come in first and second in the leg. And then you're trying to guess the overall winner and overall loser, biggest loser.
You're earning money and there's rewards. And
right.
stuff.
But every time that you make a bet, you're only risking like 1 coin for potentially earning like 5. So there's not like a risk it all element where you're really nail biting.
Lose it all.
Like I could lose everything because I really hate those kind of games. They make me nervous, which is why I don't gamble. But this game is incredibly fun. Even our 5-year-old can play by herself. So the game also plays up to 8 people, which is
amazing. Awesome
to get a game that will play that many people. It has been loved by our friends, by my parents, by your parents.
Every time they've played, they always look at it and they go, I don't know about this game. And by the end, they're like, let's play it again.
Each time we've played it, we have played it multiple times with that same group. Even with our hardcore board gamer friends, they also loved it. So I think whether you plan to study the Middle East or not, you should buy Camel Up because it's excellent. And I think I've rarely come across
We don't have anything by this company. This is the first time we've got Lookout Games.
And we don't have anything of this style with the betting element because I don't typically like it.
Exactly.
But it's rare to find a game that everyone can play and that our 5-year-old enjoys it just as much as we do. Because usually with a game like she can play, Silver and Gold would be another great recommendation. It's one of our favorite games.
We did a review of that and I'll put the link to the show notes.
Yeah, and it's also set, it's like a dig for treasure kind of thing. So I think it would go with this theme as well for deserts. That would be another great one. And another good example where our 5-year-old can play by herself and we have just as much fun as she does. Because typically in games, especially with the little ones, either they can play and we're happy playing with them, but it's not really like that interesting for us.
She's really good.
Or she's playing up and she doesn't know what she's doing.
Or, we do a lot of times we do teams, so she'll partner with Ariel or me.
Right.
And she's really cool with that because we can give her to do a lot of the activities, but we're kind of playing the strategy.
But she doesn't really know what's going on. She's just executing like, hey, put that card there. Okay, mommy. She does it. This game, she totally understands.
She's got her own little game.
She's like, I'm making a bet on purple. Like, she totally gets it.
Okay.
So it's really cool from that perspective that she understands and can play, maybe not just as well as the adults, but pretty darn well. and we all have a really fun time. This is a game that I never thought we would play as many times as we have. We keep reaching for it every time someone comes over. And in fact, we said this with our friends that were here the other day. Different set of friends. We're like, oh, we forgot to play Camel Up with them.
So
like, we got to introduce it to everyone.
It's so easy to play. It doesn't feel like it's a burden to play. Some games
pretty fast.
can feel like, oh, it's like you're
It's a
playing
lot to get into, a lot of
terraforming
rules.
Mars, right? It's like it's like, do I want to play for 3 hours right now? It's like, no, you 30-minute game with little kids. It's perfect. I love this game.
And it's a pyramid that moves dice.
When we opened it on under the tree, when we opened it, I was like,
No, it wasn't. We opened this earlier. I pulled
earlier?
Yeah, this was earlier.
the early one. Okay, so when we opened it, I was like, I don't know about this one. All right, whatever. And when we played it, I'm shocked at how good it is. Yeah, we're gushing, but it's
buy this game. It's really good, and it's
one.
different from probably any other game in your collection.
You're right. It's one of the only games that we have of this dynamic.
We don't have any others that have this dynamic because a lot of games too that involve betting. A lot of them involve bluffing. And I'm a terrible liar, so I can't play any games like that. So usually games with gambling.
Her eye twitches.
I'm just really bad at it. Whatever I have, we tried to play Citadels, a few different things. Whatever I have, he's always like, she's the assassin or whatever it is. He knows.
I can see it.
He always knows. So there's no bluffing, and the gambling has a very low penalty for losing. So Camel Up. 2 thumbs up from us.
So where are we going next?
Yeah, we're going to study England for 2 weeks.
We're going
after
to the United Kingdom
after the holidays. Yeah, we have.
I hear Paddington already.
Yes, I have all 5 books of Paddington reserved from audiobooks at the library.
I got my marmalade sandwich.
And we're going to watch Paddington and Paddington 2 and The Kid Who Would Be King, and there's going to be a lot. So, and eat some luscious food, I'm sure, from our Harry Potter cookbook.
We're gonna eat some curry.
Well, that would actually be true.
That would be more authentic.
It would be. So stay tuned.